Hi guys, and welcome to another introduction to yoga session. Today we're going to focus on a slightly different practice called yin. Yin is a much more passive practice than the more dynamic and active vinyasa style yoga, and we'll use a few props. Don't worry if you don't have exact yoga props at home. You can easily substitute these with simple things like a pillow instead of a bolster, a book instead of a block, or maybe even some hard plastic box from your kitchen, as long as it has a little bit of density. So we will take the bolster and the block behind us, and we're going to give a little bit of elevation to the bolster. So there's a little bit of height there. We're going to lie back on the bolster, and you can either bring the soles of your feet together, letting the knees go wide, or if you find that's a little strong on the groin or the hips, then it's okay to straighten the legs out. And we'll get a nice passive release into the shoulders. You can adjust the position to find comfort, but then we'll try to find stillness. Close the eyes. And as you breathe in, sense where you feel the body. Even though we breathe in and out of the lungs, the touch of the breath can be felt into areas of the body where there is sensation or tightness. So use your inhale to sense your own body, but use the exhale to soften it. Inhale to sense, exhale to soften. Yin postures are held for 2 to 3 minutes. It works on the fascia, or the interconnective tissue that surrounds all the organs, joints, muscles, even extends into your brain. The fascia has a very honeycomb structure, so it's not pulled, it's more rubbery than elastic, so we can't just pull it and stretch it out. We've got to have a continued hold. That's why we hold poses in yin for that little bit longer. Now, after about 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, it starts to stretch and expand, and then you get a little bit more give. You may feel that over time, the body lets go a little bit more and you have that bit more movement. If not, don't worry, you may be at your edge already. That's perfectly fine. And we'll take 2 more breaths here. And using your hands, draw the knees back together, and we'll use the hands to lift up towards the knees, giving a little bit of a hug. You can move a little side to side. That may feel good on our lower backs. And come to stillness. In yin, we give a rebound pose of about 30 to 40 seconds to let the body snap back from what we have just done. And it's very important to have these little moments of rest in between. And you can, with your awareness, start to just observe the tingling or the sensations that you feel after the pose. It's also working on the energetic system which exists in your fascia. As we open up channels, energy starts to flow a little bit better. And that tingling or the heat that you may feel is simply the movement or the engagement, the flow of energy. It always exists, but like our heartbeat, we're not always aware of it. So we can remove the bolster and the block to one side now. Let's bring it to the right and down beside the legs. Block out of the way. Separate your feet a little bit wider. Lie back on the mat. We'll let the knees spill out to the right side. You can use the bolster to support on maybe even the block between your legs if you need a little more, or if it's too strong, bring the legs together. Take your arms out nice and wide. Let the shoulders relax. And you can feel that we are gently affecting the lower lumbar spine here. And we're going to affect the upper cervical spine in the neck by turning the head to the left side. As you breathe in, notice which areas are affected. And as you breathe out, try to soften, try to disengage muscular effort or strain. It's not how hard we push into a yin pose, but how much we can surrender. Always a passive effort, easing into it. Try to keep a neutral face here. Face is highly responsive to thoughts, sensations, emotions. If I was to pinch you a little, your face would scrunch up immediately. But even if you have a thought, there's a reaction in the face. So as we maintain a blank, neutral face, also let go of those distractions. Few more breaths. And then take the knees back in towards the center and turn the head back to a neutral position. Gently hug the knees in towards the body. Just holding without actually pulling or any engagement in the arms. Kind of want to let gravity do the work here, drawing us down into ourselves. And release the feet. Keep them a little bit wider than the hips, maybe to the edges of your mat. Take the bolster or your pillow or even your block out to the other side. Let the knees spill out. Now you can use the bolster to support the knees if you don't want to go too far. Maybe you have hip injuries or hip replacements. We don't want to go too far into it. If it's okay to remove the bolster, you can. If you also need a block between the thighs, do that, or just move the knees closer. Any options and variations, there's always a modification that you can choose depending on what's going on with your body. Now we're affecting, and you can feel the lift of that right buttock away, curving into the lower spine, and very slowly and mindfully turn your head out to the right. We're affecting the upper cervical spine into the neck. Let the head and shoulders release down. Arms can come out wide. Breathe in to sense the areas of tension and resistance, and breathe out to soften there. Try to disengage any effort at all in the legs. It's a passive hold. Taking a few more breaths. We'll bring the knees and the head back into a central position. Gentle squeeze, just holding and maintaining that shape without too much effort in the arms. You can move around a little if it feels necessary or good. And we'll land the feet in front. We're going to lift the buttocks off the mat and slide your bolster or your pillow underneath. So it's supporting half of the buttocks and half of the lower back. It should feel nice and comfortable here, and the sacrum is supported. Now this may be enough. You could bring the block if you want to go a little higher, but extending the feet will also increase the pressure or the sense of compression into your lower back. So you can try straightening them out. If it's too much, you can always step in straight away or at any stage. But if you're okay extending the feet, we'll try to relax those muscles specifically around the lower spine. So there's larger groups of muscles on either side your QLs, and there's smaller groups of muscles closer to the spine that help us stand up and engage in the spine. The erector spinae and multifidus. You don't need to remember the names, but you can sense into the body larger and smaller groups of muscles. Breathe into those areas. If at any point you need to step the feet in, choose to do so. This is your practice. We'll take 3 more breaths. And then we'll all step the feet back in. Lift the hips and slide the prop out to one side, bringing the lower back down. And using the hands, come up to a seated position and we'll hug the knees again, letting our body weight spill forward over the legs. We're going to come back down, lifting the hips again, bring the bolster back underneath. This time we'll extend the legs up in the air. We want to start off with the knees bent and move the legs slightly forward and back. There's a point here, a position, even if the legs aren't straight, where it's easier to balance. Now this pose can be also done against a wall if you find this a little bit strong, or if your legs shake, you can just rest the feet against a wall. And it's so beneficial for things like insomnia, anxiety. It's probably to be avoided if you have any major heart condition. Just a contraindication. but a beautiful beneficial pose. We're not going to stay for too long, just giving our lymphatic system a chance to drain. And then land the feet. Lift the hips again, remove it to one side, and we'll bring it forward. Bring it across the front of your mat, about a third of the way down. And this time we'll bring the chest onto the bolster. So your lowest rib aligns right into the center. Bring the elbows to the floor, just under your shoulders, and the palms apart. We call this pose Sphinx because you look essentially like a Sphinx. Now you can, if you're not feeling very much, bring the elbows higher up onto the bolster, or you can let the head sink lower if that feels comfortable. Very passive hold, but we will try not to hunch the shoulders. We'll let them drop down, opening up the chest. But we don't want too much engagement, certainly not muscular effort. You'll notice that the buttocks, your glutes, are tightening. This is a very natural reaction to working into the lower back. We don't want to switch them off, but we do want to soften. Or maybe dial it down about 10 or 20%. Close the eyes and use that sense of the inhale to find those areas of tightness and stiffness, and the exhale to soften them. Over time, if we can relax a little more into the buttocks, you may feel that it's the letting go of the muscles that actually allows you to go into greater depth, as maybe the pelvis sinks deeper to the earth. When the muscles are tightening and resisting against it, that's what's holding and limiting us. But as they let go, you find greater depth, you find more ease. Yin can be a beautifully introspective practice because we have time in each pose to really explore it, to make the adjustments that we need, and then we look for stillness and quiet. Final few breaths. And come down slowly. Push yourself back towards the heels. We'll take the knees wide and bring your prop between the thighs. So you can come down to a child's pose. If you need the bolster a little bit higher, you can always prop it up with your block or your book. Come lower, but you should get a sense of stretching out that lumbar spine after we compressed it. Rise up to seated, turning the bolster around. This time we'll bring the legs over it. We're going to fold forward over the legs, deeply affecting the whole back of the body and all these energy channels, or what we call meridians, that energy flows through the body, through the fascia. It really opens up these channels, and you can feel the whole back of your body opening up and getting a nice stretch. You can fold forward here. Now, it may not be that you can fold very far forward. That may be due just to the tilt of your pelvis. You can use a block under your head, or you could just cup your chin if you want to fold forward. Doesn't matter how far, at whatever point that you meet resistance is far enough for your body. For others, it may be quite deep. You could fold over the legs. Perhaps you don't need it, or you could even use the bolster like this if you find it quite difficult to tilt forward. As long as you're feeling some resistance in the backs of the legs and the spine, you are at the level that you need to be. Observing in your body, where are the points of unconscious tension and effort? Where are you straining, and where can you let go? There's an art to yin, an art of surrender. But even in trying to let go, there is still a trying. There's a moment in your practice, much like the difference between trying to fall asleep and falling asleep. There's that moment where you forget about trying and you let go. Last few breaths. Come up slowly. Be safe as you rise up out of these poses. And then lie back, keeping the bolster under the knees if it's not already. Adjust the clothes or the position. If you're cold, bring a blanket over you. Let any expression dissolve from the face, releasing any tension from the jaw. Allowing your breath to deepen. Bring some movement back to your fingers and toes. Then rock the head. Draw your knees into the body. Roll out to the left side. This is the yin side of your body, but corresponds to the right hemisphere of your brain. Whenever you feel ready, rising up to a seated position, we'll join our hands together at the heart, rolling the shoulders back and slightly down. Finish with a cleansing breath. Deepest inhale. Exhale with a sigh. Bow the head towards the heart. Namaste.